The wind hit his face before the thought could. Adrian Cole stepped forward, shoes sinking slightly into the wet sand, the cold ocean roaring louder than the noise in his head. One more step and the water would take him to his ankles. Another, and, "Can I sit here with you for a while?" The voice was small, soft, too soft to belong in a moment like this. Adrian didn't turn immediately. His jaw tightened. Whoever it was, they had picked the wrong person, the wrong morning, the wrong everything. "I'm not really in the mood for company," he muttered, eyes still locked on the horizon. But the footsteps didn't leave. Instead, there was a quiet shuffle, and then the faint sound of someone sitting down beside him. "I won't talk much," the voice said again, gentler this time. "My grandma says sitting with someone sad makes the quiet less heavy." That made him turn. She couldn't have been older than 8. Dark skin glowing softly in the early light. Big, curious eyes. Braided hair tied with small beads that clicked faintly when she moved. She didn't look afraid. Not even a little. She looked certain. Adrian let out a slow breath through his nose. "You just walk up to strangers like this?" She shrugged, already digging into the sand with her hands. "Only the ones who look like they need it." He almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he shook his head and turned back to the ocean. "You don't even know me." "I don't have to," she said simply. Silence stretched between them. But it wasn't the same silence anymore. It wasn't suffocating. It was shared. "What are you building?" Adrian finally asked after a moment, nodding toward the small pile of shells she had gathered. "A house," she said. "For who?" "For the ocean." That made him glance at her again. "The ocean doesn't need a house." She paused, then looked up at him like he had just said something very obvious, but still wrong. "Everybody needs somewhere to feel safe." That hit deeper than it should have. Adrian swallowed, looking away. She kept building, carefully placing shells like bricks, pressing sand down with small, deliberate hands. "It has to be strong," she added, "so it doesn't fall when the waves come." Something twisted in Adrian's chest. Strong, so it doesn't fall. He hadn't thought about strength like that in a long time. "What happens when it does fall?" he asked quietly. She didn't hesitate. "Then you build it again." He let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, but it broke halfway through. "That's simple, huh?" She nodded. "Yeah, why wouldn't it be?" Before he could answer, a distant voice called out, "Lila." The girl turned immediately. "I'm here, Mom." A woman approached quickly, worry written all over her face. When she got closer, her eyes softened, but then she noticed Adrian. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she said quickly. She has a habit of making friends everywhere. Adrian shook his head. "It's fine. She didn't bother you?" He hesitated. "No," he said finally. "Not really." Lila beamed like she had just accomplished something important. The woman smiled, relieved. "I'm Elena." "Adrian." Her expression changed. Subtly, but enough. "Adrian Cole." He didn't respond right away. That was answer enough. Elena straightened slightly. "I've seen you on the news." Of course she had. Everyone had. The headlines weren't exactly subtle. Billionaire CEO under fire. Corporate giant on the brink. Adrian ignored it. Lila tugged his sleeve. "Are you famous?" He exhaled slowly. "Something like that." "Cool," she said, completely uninterested in whatever that actually meant. His phone buzzed again, and again, and again. He glanced at it. Marcus Vance. 6 missed calls. 3 messages. His jaw tightened. "Looks important," Elena said gently. "Yeah," Adrian muttered. He stepped away, answering the call. "What?" he said, sharper than he intended. Finally, Marcus's voice came through tense. "Where have you been?" "Busy." "What's going on?" There was a pause. Then, "We have a serious problem." Adrian's expression hardened instantly. Define serious. "The contract with Helix Infrastructure. The final version, it's been altered." "That's not possible." "It is. And it's bad." "How bad?" Another pause. "Worst case scenario. It exposes us to losses we can't absorb." Adrian's grip on the phone tightened. "Who signed off on it?" "That's the problem," Marcus said. "On paper, you did." Adrian went still. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." A wave crashed harder against the shore. Adrian turned slightly, watching it. "Who's behind it?" he asked, voice lower now. Marcus didn't hesitate. "Gavin Rourke." Of course. Adrian's jaw clenched. What's the media saying? It's starting to leak. Investors are already nervous. Adrian closed his eyes briefly. He could feel it now. The shift. The storm. Listen to me, Marcus continued. If we don't control this fast, it's going to spiral. Adrian opened his eyes again. Calm. Cold. Focused. No panic, he said. We deal with facts. Adrian. No panic, he repeated. There was silence on the other end. Then Marcus sighed. All right, I'll be there in 30. He hung up. When he turned back, Lila was watching him. You look like the waves got bigger, she said. He let out a quiet breath. Something like that. She pointed at the little shell house. It's okay, she said. You just build stronger this time. Adrian stared at it for a second. Then he nodded. Yeah, he said quietly. I guess you do. The car ride back felt shorter than usual. Or maybe everything else just felt slower. By the time Adrian stepped into the glass tower of coal dynamics, the energy had already shifted. People weren't just working. They were watching, waiting, whispering. The boardroom was already full. Marcus, Nina Torres, Elliot Shaw. All eyes turned to him. All right, Adrian said, walking in. Talk to me. Nina spoke first. Financial exposure is massive if the clause holds. Elliot added, media is circling. We need a statement. Marcus slid a document across the table. This is the version filed last night. Adrian scanned it quickly, then stopped. There it was. Buried. Hidden. A clause that rewrote everything. Who approved this? He asked. That's the thing, Marcus said. The metadata shows your authorization. That's impossible. I know. Silence filled the room. Adrian looked up. This wasn't an accident, he said. No one argued. Gavin? Nina asked. Adrian nodded slowly. Yeah. Elliot leaned forward. We need to respond before he controls the narrative. No, Adrian said. They all looked at him. We don't react. We respond. What's the difference? Elliot asked. Adrian's eyes sharpened. Emotion, he said. That shut the room up. We investigate first, Adrian continued. Every version of that contract. Every email. Every signature. And the media? Elliot pressed. Prepare a statement, Adrian said. Neutral. Controlled. No speculation. Marcus nodded. And internally? Lock everything down, Adrian said. No leaks. The room slowly shifted. Not calm, but directed. Focused. Adrian leaned back slightly, exhaling. And, for a brief moment, he saw a small shell house and a little girl's voice. Build again. Hours later, the message came in. Unknown number. One line. Look into Harbor Point Phase 2. Someone died over it. Adrian stared at it. Something cold moved through him. Marcus, he said quietly. Yeah. You're not going to like this. The name was Noah Keene. Risk analyst. Brilliant. Quiet. Precise. Dead. Car accident. Marcus said, reading the file. Adrian didn't respond. What? Marcus asked. Adrian leaned forward slightly. You believe that? Marcus hesitated. No. Adrian nodded once. What was he working on? He asked. Marcus flipped a page. Harbor Point Phase 2. There it was. Adrian leaned back slowly. Find me everything, he said. They found her 2 days later. Maya Keene, Noah's fiancée. She didn't open the door all the way. You people need to stop coming here, she said immediately. We're not reporters, Marcus said. Then you're worse. Adrian stepped forward slightly. I'm not here to spin anything, he said. I'm here because I think Noah found something. She studied him. Long. Careful. You all say that, she said. I'm not all, Adrian replied. Silence. Then, what do you want? The truth, he said. She laughed. Short. Bitter. That's funny. Adrian didn't react. Please, he said instead. Just talk to me. Something in his voice must have landed. Because she opened the door. Barely. He knew, she said after a while. Before he died. He knew something was wrong. What kind of wrong? The kind that makes people disappear, she said quietly. Marcus and Adrian exchanged a glance. Did he leave anything? Adrian asked. She hesitated, then walked into another room. When she came back, she held a worn notebook. He didn't trust anyone, she said. So he wrote everything down. Adrian took it carefully. Inside, codes, notes, transfers, patterns, Proof. This is enough, Marcus whispered. Maya shook her head. No, it's not all. Adrian looked up. There's more. She nodded slowly. A storage unit, she said. He hid things there. Said if anything happened, someone would come. She looked at Adrian. I guess that's you. The press conference was packed. Cameras. Lights. Noise. Adrian stepped up to the podium. Silence followed. He didn't rush. Didn't fidget. Just looked out at the crowd. My name is Adrian Cole, he began. You've heard a lot of things about my company this week. Pause. Some of them are true. Murmurs. But not the ones that matter most. He placed a notebook on the podium. There has been a pattern of financial manipulation, hidden transfers, altered contracts. The room shifted, and one man tried to expose it. He paused. His name was Noah Keene. Silence. He died before he could finish. Cameras clicked rapidly. Adrian's voice didn't change, but his work didn't die with him. He gestured slightly. We have evidence, and we're turning it over to authorities. The room erupted. Questions. Shouting. Adrian stepped back. Calm. Controlled. Done. Days later, the headlines changed. Investigations opened. Names dropped. Power shifted. But Adrian didn't feel victory. Just quiet. The beach looked the same. But he didn't. Hey, Lila said, spotting him. You came back. Adrian smiled faintly. I said I would. She pointed to the sand. We have to rebuild. The waves broke it again. He crouched beside her. Yeah, he said. They do that. They started building. Together. Elena watched from a distance. You fixed everything? Lila asked. Adrian shook his head. No, he said honestly. Not everything. She nodded like she expected that. That's okay, she said. You're still building. He looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, he felt something steady. Yeah, he said softly. I am. She placed a final shell on top. It's stronger now, she said. Why? Because you didn't do it alone. Adrian smiled. And this time, it stayed. If this story moved you even a little, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Tell me what part stayed with you the most. Because sometimes the smallest voices change everything.